Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the National Oval Racing Association broadcast booth from the World Center of Racing on this cloudy day in Daytona Beach, Florida. We have a 27-lap race, which should equate to about an hour-long event here today. As of right now, it is just myself in the broadcast booth. I'm not sure if Josh will be joining me or not. But on a slightly constrained time stream to get in before a said hockey game this week, or this game, today, it might be, we have been given the go-ahead to go ahead and bring this race to you guys. I know Josh had even mentioned he was going to likely take a back seat on this one, as this is a little bit more my area of expertise when it comes to Daytona and road racing. So it's yet another wonderful Sim Series event. As it's been all week, it's going to be different. It's going to be weird. It's it's fun to watch. Lewis Hamilton, for instance, we have on screen right now in the 44. It's going to be great grouping of cars. Great grouping of just everything. Honestly. I'm looking forward to this. There's some great names. There's some names that you may not be familiar with. And it'll be a bit different than what we're probably accustomed to, with this being more aimed at road racing. It will likely get spread out a lot more than we're used to seeing with the NASCAR guys. And it's likely that whoever starts on pole has a chance to just win the race. It's certainly Formula One-esque, and to say that the likelihood that a Formula One-esque race occurs is low is false. It's probably very high that we don't see a lot of passing for the lead. Now we also very well could see a lot of passing for the lead. It's the AI. There's nothing about the AI that we have ever seen that tells us they're going to do what we expect them to do. But what I do expect, and I've kind of seen so far throughout any testing we've done, the two cars to really keep an eye out on, and they do happen to be obviously a little biased with myself and Josh, but they have been the two cars that have been at the front almost every test session. They run 1-2 almost every time they're on track, and that's Mick Schumacher in the 46 and Kimi Räikkönen in the number 7. So Kimi drives the BMW, and Mick drives the Porsche, so they'll be leading the charge, as it has seemed, for their respective brands. Now, Daytona provides a lot of different type of racing that these GT4s don't usually see on most normal road courses. Daytona provides a lot different of a challenge with its bus stops and the high speed corners of the NASCAR portions. So we'll see a much different race here today, but as far as I know, I think we are probably just about good to switch on over to qualifying, and I'm just going to let the ticker go through real quick, and I can find out who had the fastest lap in practice, because we will follow on board that driver. And it was, as I had mentioned, Kimi Räikkönen. So we will be following on board Kimi Räikkönen for qualifying, and in fact, we will be following on board as we ride in the roll bar. So we're going to let this switch on over to qualifying. Take a quick drink real quick, and we'll be ready to go. Now, as you'll note, something that's not different from our racing, or from our NASCAR side of things, it'll still be a one-lap session of qualifying for each driver. So they'll each get one lap to put in a fast lap. So Kimi's going to have his out lap, and then he will try to put in the fast lap. And you'll kind of see, you can see a little bit of the wheel movement to your left there. this is going to be an interesting lap to watch. It's certainly going to be a lot different than we've seen all week. On the NASCAR side, it's a much different type of lap, and it's a bit longer. It's, I think, almost a mile longer than the oval. So we will fall on board as Kimi takes his warm-up lap. So Kimi is now coming through the infield section of this, and as you can probably see, some of the names that are scrolling across the top, you've got special names: Fernando Alonso, Daniel Ricciardo, names that people might notice: Scott Dixon, Alexander Rossi, Kevin Magnussen, Jan Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, Michael Schumacher, so on and so on. There's a bunch of names that people might notice. There's some fun fantasy names: Darth Vader, Hugh Who Shall Not Be Named, SpongeBob SquarePants, and it's going to be fun to watch. It's certainly going to be interesting to say the least, as Kimi hits up onto the high banking, and you can kind of see, I believe this is actually on the gyro cam. It actually is, in fact, on the gyro cam. You could see the degree of banking there in NASCAR 1 and 2, and how much different it is when you think about GT racing and know that they don't really do banking for the majority of their corners on any circuit, for that matter. But here at Daytona, you've got, I believe it's 31 degrees of banking here. I believe it's 33 at Talladega, but I believe it's only 31 here. That's a lot of banking in comparison to the usual very flat corners, such as they have at Sebring, where there is no banking. But here we come through the banked tri-oval, as it is, up to around probably 180 mile an hour, possibly. I'm not really sure the top speed on these cars, but heavy brakes down into turn 1. It's a very hard left-hander on the brakes. You got to make sure the car doesn't step out on you. Through the S's, and we come down in International. This is another hard braking corner. You got to make sure that you get this in here just right. Get the car to settle, and then bring it off the corner and let it roll itself out. Then we can move into the kink. And the kink is a very fast-paced, wide-open left-hander that you can take wide open. Into the right-hander at the west hairpin. You come through there, and much like the International, it's a very similar hairpin. But this is a much different hairpin. As you come onto the racing surface for NASCAR, it gets very slick, very dusty right here, and it gets very hard to control the car sometimes. So Kimi did a great job of managing that through there, and you'll see probably everybody managed it through there. And they'll come back out onto the racing surface of the NASCAR oval. And as he comes down the back stretch, you can see he's got the brake markers, brake at the light, dive down into the bus stop, give it a left, give it a right, give it a right, give it a left, and we're quickly back onto the NASCAR oval section. So we now have pretty much a full lap completed. This is where you will hit your absolute top speed. This is the longest run that they have. In the NASCAR cars, they get well over 180 without the chicane. That would be roughly right about there on NASCAR side, but this is GT. There is no chicane, so he'll cross the line, and we'll see where Kimi Räikkönen scores in. As it looks like Kimi Räikkönen goes top of the board pole, just as he had in practice, and that's kind of the things that you'll see with this kind of racing, is that the guys that are doing well in practice are likely doing well in the racing. So GT racing, much different than NASCAR per se, but we will see how that's going to translate, as I believe that is Rebel Racing that put 3 cars into the top 4, second, third, and fourth. So we'll see how that goes. Mick Schumacher ended up qualifying 5th. Give me just a second. We're going to move to an exterior view. You guys can follow along with Kimi for a minute as I accomplish something. So that accomplishes what we got. So I'm going to move on to the race. So on our starting grid, we have Kimi Räikkönen obviously on pole, and then I believe once it pops up and we can see everybody, we'll give them a moment to start gridding the cars, get them out to the track. This will also be a large difference, as you can already see. They're all on track as it is. This is a standing start. This is very different from our usual form of racing. So it is Kimi Räikkönen, obviously on the pole, followed by Ayrton Senna. Jackie Ickx from third. From fourth is Niki Lauda. Fifth, I'll see Mick Schumacher, I apologize. Brian O'Connor rolls off in sixth. Nick Boulay in seventh. Juan Pablo Montoya in eighth. Ninth is Scott Dixon. 10th is Alexander Rossi. 12th is Takumi Fujiwara. In 12th, should be 12th, James Hunt. In 13th, Michael Schumacher. 14th is George Russell. 15th is Lord Voldemort. 16th is Dario Franchitti. 17th is Fernando Alonso. Lewis Hamilton is in 18th. 19th is Jan Magnussen. 20th, Mark Frosty Winterbottom. In 21st is Darth Vader. Mike Roch brings up the car in 22nd. 23rd is Lando Norris. 24th is Ramsey Bolton. 25th is Colin Braun. 26th is Kevin Magnussen. 27th is Max Verstappen. 28th is Oscar Golderson. I hope I pronounced that right. In 29th is Hans Landa. 30th is Daniel Ricciardo. In 31st is Kevin Roy. And last on the field, SpongeBob SquarePants. So with that being said, I will go ahead and hit my grid spot. And then we will go back to live. We'll go to 5 red lights on the season. And they should be green now. They are green. They are away. Kimi Räikkönen gets a great jump off the start. He is going to block to the outside. Ayrton Senna jumps to his inside. Will Kimi be able to defend this? Will he be able to hold off Ayrton Senna? Ayrton Senna is going to drive to his inside. Ayrton Senna tries to make the pass immediately and doesn't. Looks like Jackie Ickx is going to follow through as well. Kimi Räikkönen with a bad start. He does manage to hold off Jackie Ickx, but now it's the attempt to go run down Ayrton Senna. Mick Schumacher also all the way up from his 5th place starting spot. He's now running in 3rd, followed by Jackie Ickx and Niki Lauda, the top 5. So Ayrton Senna off from 2nd place. He manages to get a great jump on Kimi Räikkönen, dive it to the inside, and he is now your leader coming through the Western Hairpin. This is a short but long race. It's 27 laps, and we will try and get this done. Not a caution to be seen in this race, unless there is something absolutely drastic, as we'll now kind of go through the field a little bit, starting from 6th place, as we now know the top 5. Scott Dixon is currently running in 6th, Brian O'Connor in 7th, Nick Boulay back to 8th, Juan Pablo Montoya back to 9th, Alexander Rossi, I believe, holding steady in 10th, Takumi Fujiwara in 11th, and then we have Michael Schumacher in 12th. 13th, you can kind of see a battle brewing as James Hunt looks to the inside and Lord Voldemort, but he who shall not be named, as I just named him, manages to hold him off. James Hunt is behind him, Fernando Alonso, and on this long straightaway, I would like to take a look back at the lead because this is going to be one of your prime passing opportunities. As we see Kimi Räikkönen trying to draft up, can he get close enough to Ayrton Senna to make something happen? It doesn't look like he's there this lap, but each lap he will grow closer and creep closer and try and make that pass in what is likely the best position for him to make that pass, diving down into turn 1. So we'll now go back through the field. I believe we were back to Fernando Alonso in 15th, George Russell in 16th. Jan Magnussen currently settling in 17th as there are battles throughout the field. Dario Franchitti all the way back to 18th. I believe he started much higher than that, although I could be wrong. Darth Vader is in 19th. Lewis Hamilton is in 20th. Lando Norris 21st. Frosty is in 22nd. Max Verstappen 23rd. I know he's up from a bad starting position. Ramsey Bolton in 24th. 25th is Mike Roch. Colin Braun 26th. Kevin Magnussen 27th. Oscar Golderson is in 28th. Hans Landa 29th. Kevin Roy 30th. 31st is Daniel Ricciardo, and bringing up the rear is SpongeBob SquarePants. So we move back to the front. This is the main battle that we're going to watch here for at least the next lap. This is going to be the key here, is can Kimi get through this bus stop perfectly? And I believe he did, to really set up for the run he's looking for. You can see it here. He's almost there, as the camera continuously wants me to be on board for this shot. So he's going to set up. He's going to look to the outside, probably here. He is going to drive that car to the outside. He's got a good run. We'll see what he can do with it, as he noses the car even for the most part, and they'll dive down into turn one. It looks like Ayrton Senna is able to clear him, as Jackie Ickx makes a move to the other side of Mick Schumacher to get around him. So the two guys that I kept saying, you know, they usually tend to be 1-2, are running 2-3, but the three cars that I didn't fully expect to really be giving them as much of a run for their money after all the test races are really showing their mettle with the three, I believe these are the Rebel Racing cars, of Niki Lauda, Jackie Ickx, and Ayrton Senna at the front. So it's a very BMW-centric field for the most part, across not just these front cars, but throughout. There are a few Porsches, and actually I think as we've gotten more cars, it's kind of become more middle of the ground, but I do believe it still leans BMW. So we will have to see how that plays out with things. Obviously, the BMW is a bit bigger car, and one would think that it might not be as aerodynamically sound as, say, the Porsche, which is a little bit smaller, a little bit more streamlined. As Kimi Räikkönen is going to look to try and get a great run into this bus stop once again. And it looks like he has another great run through the bus stop. How much of it can he use, and how far up can he get? He's going to start challenging immediately through 3 and 4. This is a big difference from what we saw in the last lap, where he didn't even start his challenge until they came off of NASCAR 4. So we'll see what this changes and how far up he can get, as you can kind of see a little bit of that double draft is actually helping Mick Schumacher draft up closer to them as well, as Kimi is going to get alongside, but I think Senna is going to be able to dive this down in there deep. And it does look like Kimi is going to relinquish that spot, and now Mick Schumacher looks to his inside, and we'll have to see what happens here, as it looks like Mick Schumacher has now cleared Kimi Räikkönen, but it's not over yet. Kimi Räikkönen dives his inside in the international hairpin, and it looks like Mick Schumacher is going to clear out there, and even Kimi going to lose spots to Jackie Ickx now. So Kimi Räikkönen, your pole sitter, back all the way to 4th place at this moment. We'll have to follow along and see just what's going to continue to happen. Ayrton Senna really putting on a great defensive show so far, as now it looks like Niki Lauda challenging Kimi Räikkönen, but he's not going to be able to get that done. And it looks like Kimi Räikkönen is just going to fall right back where he was, and now try to put the moves back to Jackie Ickx to try to get around him. And you'll see me kind of flip through those interior cameras pretty quickly. A lot of times when it's on those interior cameras, it gets stuck on them, and it won't change off of them for like 3 or 4 laps. So I like to flip through them pretty quickly and make sure that they're not getting stuck there, and that you guys are seeing cameras for what they should be seen as. So another battle here is James Hunt looks to the outside of Michael Schumacher. They go side by side through the bus stop, but Michael Schumacher able to hold them off. Very, very well done by both cars to be able to hold that side by side through the bus stop. So we move back to the front. You can see Kimi Räikkönen now as Jackie Ickx is looking to the outside of Mick Schumacher. And I think Mick just got the wall a little bit there. It's now Kimi Räikkönen's going to dive to his inside on what is an incredible dive move to get from fourth all the way back up to second on the road. So an incredible move by Kimi Räikkönen to be able to not only get Jackie Ickx on that move, but also to be able to pull off that move to the inside and get Mick Schumacher. Incredibly well done from the Finnish veteran known as the Iceman. So this is a masterclass of driving. You have incredible names up here at the front between Ayrton Senna, Niki Lauda, Jackie Ickx. They're all Formula One winners. A few of them Formula One world champions. And then you have the youngster, Mick Schumacher, the youngest of the group, and hasn't even turned a single lap in Formula One, although he is sporting his new team for Formula One's paint job. He's got the Haas scheme on, so he's ready to go moving forward for Gene Haas and the Haas Formula One team. But as far as it is right now, this is his first action in anything with Haas on it, and we see a battle to the inside now here. This is an incredible decision by Kimi Räikkönen to try to make the move work into the bus stop, and it doesn't look like he's going to get it done, but an incredible challenge nonetheless, as now Jackie Ickx is going to kind of have to tap the brakes there. He's not really going to be where he wants to be, and you've got four cars all pretty much side by side there for the most part. They were for just a second, and now it looks like Kimi Räikkönen and Mick Schumacher are going to go nose to tail as they try to get Ayrton Senna here. As they come to complete lap 5, so they're now on to lap 6, as Mick Schumacher is now going to look to the inside of Kimi, and that's going to look like almost the same move that Kimi used on Mick just a lap ago, as Jackie Ickx just cuts the nose off of Kimi Räikkönen. Mick Schumacher goes heavily defensive into International, and Kimi just sends it in, gives a little bit of a shot to Jackie Ickx, but he's going to move him out of the way and should get the job done. It actually doesn't look like it's finished yet. They're going to be side by side into the kink, and through the kink they go through pretty cleanly. They'll still be side by side as they come through here into the West End hairpin, and it looks like Kimi Räikkönen's going to get the job done. Now Jackie Ickx is under fire from his teammate Niki Lauda. Niki's going to back out of that and let him have it. And we continue to have what is incredible racing at the front. And here I was saying that there was the possibility they'd get spread out and we wouldn't see a lot of battling at the front. And sure enough, they, as the AI tend to have done all week, made me eat my words. And in this particular case, I couldn't be happier because it has been absolutely great racing. And I really love those kind of shots where you could just see the whole field behind any of these cars. And I'm wondering, is this scheduled, or it looks like there's a little bit of damage on a few of those cars. So that's interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. I'm not really sure when the pit stops are expected. I want to say it's around lap 12, but I'm not sure, to say the least. We will see pit stops when we see it. I think we're expecting at least 2 stops in this Grand Prix. But you can kind of see Kimi Räikkönen still battling with Mick Schumacher, and they're all trying to chase down Ayrton Senna, who's led from the start almost. Kimi Räikkönen obviously taking the pole, but Ayrton Senna getting a great jump. And now it's Jackie Ickx looking to the inside of Kimi Räikkönen through the international hairpin. And he's going to be able to hold there, so he's going to have the outside going into the kink, which is an advantage. And no, he's not. Kimi Räikkönen, with a great run off of international, is able to hold off and carry on into third into the West End hairpin. So now it's Mick Schumacher who really gets out of shape there through the West End hairpin and moves that car to second place, or well, continues around second place. It does say George Russell is out, Alexander Rossi out, Scott Dixon out. Oh my word. We've got a large number of cars that are out of this race. Okay, so we've got Dario Franchitti out. Fernando Alonso is out. George Russell is out. Rossi is out. Scott Dixon is out. So that is extremely interesting from the standpoint of what has happened there. And I believe SpongeBob is in for a pit stop. We'll keep an eye on the scoreboard. Thank you, Josh, for keeping me on my toes with that one. I hadn't seen it say out, but we are going to follow through with that. And it does, in fact, say that SpongeBob is now out of this race. So we will follow through with that as soon as we see the finish of this battle. This is a really great battle as Mick Schumacher is going to look to the outside. Now Kimi Räikkönen thinks about it. He's going to open up the door. Will he see a challenge from the inside by Jackie Ickx? He won't, but now Mick Schumacher is under fire from Kimi Räikkönen as they go side by side, and it looks like Mick Schumacher is going to clear through. So we'll now go ahead and get SpongeBob. So there we go, and we'll go back up to the front and follow along. So that's already, I think, 5 or 6 cars already out of this race. I believe it's only 5. I could be up to 6. But that is quite a number, and you will see them, because of the way that I've seen the DQing work on this, they will go complete whatever lap they are on, and then they will pull it in to be disqualified. So it's kind of a little weird thing that they do, but as they run, and I did seem like most of those cars had damage, so I'm wondering how they got it, whether it be an accident. I know they were all towards the back, but it's just a weird scenario to have 5 or 6 cars that are all immediately out of the races. Mick Schumacher kind of getting a little angsty on the straightaway there. He's actually, and I didn't notice this, but, well, I think actually I did catch it earlier. I think when Kimi went to make the pass, that I thought he got into the wall, and it does look like that right side of that car for Mick Schumacher is a little bit damaged. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. It doesn't look like it's really hampering him. I think that car is continuing to run well, and it's continuing to have enough speed, so it doesn't look like it's affected his aerodynamics. But you can kind of see that that battle between Kimi Räikkönen and Mick Schumacher is now allowing Ayrton Senna to get a little bit of a gap, and you can also see behind them the Jackie Ickx and Niki Lauda battle that continues to rage on, and has since the start, is causing them to lose pace with some of those guys. Brian O'Connor trying to bring these guys forward and maybe battle for a position there. Juan Pablo Montoya, Takumi Fujiwara, and Nick Boulet all trying to get up there, and then he who shall not be named runs in 10th. So an interesting battle, and this is arguably, besides the lead battle, this battle between he who shall not be named and James Hunt is the most important battle on track. Again, besides probably the lead battle, this is the last spot to gain points towards the championship. Much like in Formula 1, 1st through 10th is who gains points. And if you're not inside the top 10, you get no points. No points on your soul. So this is going to be very interesting to see how this is going to change things. But we return once again to this 3-car battle at the front. Ayrton Senna really putting on a great show from somebody that honestly throughout the test sessions hadn't really shown the ability to hold the lead. I've seen throughout the test sessions and be able to qualify well, qualify at the front even, but not really hold the lead. So here we go once again with another battle, and this might be the best battle yet, as they're actually 3 wide at the start-finish line to see who's going to get the lead. Kimi Räikkönen actually backs out of it. Looks like Mick's going to jump to the outside, and it looks like he's not going to get that done. He's not going to challenge, Kimi's not going to challenge both of them for the lead, And he's going to be able to hold off Mick. It looks like no, Mick's going to challenge back into International. And what an incredible moment from the three leaders there from the start finish line all the way through to turn one in the International haircut. The 10 laps have been completed out of 27. We're at 17 to go. And as you can tell, it's kind of been they've been really good about how they've been getting their pace through. And you can see Jackie Ickx now close the gap. He's actually back in this little battle. Very well done by him. But Mick Schumacher continues to try to do something with Ayrton Senna. They all want by Senna as best as they can, but it's just not been happening. Senna able to put that BMW wherever he needs to hold the lead, and he's going to continue to hold the lead through the bus stop at least. But Mick Schumacher gets a great run through at least the first part of the bus stop. However, it does look like he kind of let off towards the end of it, and now Kimi Räikkönen is going to try and fill that gap to the outside, but it actually looks like, well, for a moment, that Jackie Ickx was going to fill the inside, and now Kimi Räikkönen is just going to fall in line behind, and I believe there it is. They're all coming to make their pit stops now at lap 10. You can see that pretty much everybody is now making a pit stop, and this is a little bit due to the fuel load, and I don't think they'd be able to go another full lap. So they're all probably pitting now at this time. Kimi Räikkönen can have that first pit stall. And we'll see who gets out first. It's going to be very important on the stop. Whose pit crew does the best? We know Ayrton Senna came in first. Mick Schumacher came in second, and then Kimi Räikkönen in third. Jackie Ickx fourth, and Niki Lauda fifth. So we'll see out of those five how everything flips, as I believe this is Lando Norris staying out. So it actually looks like Jackie Ickx and Niki Lauda get the best pit stops. Brian O'Connor gets a great pit stop as well, as he actually jumps many cars. And Kimi Räikkönen with the worst pit stop of them all. He's going to have a lot of work to do here to try to get back to the front. But Jackie Ickx, without question, the winner on that pit stop. Niki Lauda as well. Brian O'Connor for sure. Ayrton Senna losing big. Mick Schumacher losing big. And biggest loser without question, Kimi Räikkönen, all the way back from third to eighth. And Lando Norris was already on pit road at one point, so he was not stopping for fuel, I believe he doesn't need to just yet. So we'll keep going. But new leader in this race, Jackie Ickx. So we see pit stops already playing a big advantage to the Rebel Racing team, at least the number 10 and the number 11. We will see how they play out at the end of the race, because there should be another set of pit stops to worry about. And of course, now we want to follow along and watch not only Ayrton Senna and Mick Schumacher to see if they can get back up and battling for first or second, but Kimi Räikkönen to see if anything's happened, if there's something wrong with the car or anything that they maybe had to take an extra second to look at and see if he can make a challenge back. You can see he's a lot farther back than he was. I mean, obviously he was in third place battling for the lead at one point. So this is a huge, huge change in the race landscape, as we have just over 15 laps to go at this point. After pit stops, it does look like James Hunt has come out in front of he who should not be named, as has Michael Schumacher. So another important change that we see here in his running. Before pit stops, he who shall not be named ran inside the points. He was the last person in, and now he is outside. So this is going to be very interesting to see who's going to finish in the top 10, who's going to get points. You can see Nick Poulet now challenging Kimi Räikkönen So we're not sure what has occurred with Kimi Räikkönen. We will wait and see once those tires get warmed up how he does, and as this track transitions into the night phase of this very short race. It's not going to be a long night race. It's just going to be a quick little short thing, but you could already see Brian O'Connor under fire from Ayrton Senna. Ayrton Senna not too thrilled about his pit crew being worse off than his two teammates, who got an incredible pit stop to get out in front of him. So now Ayrton Senna will look to challenge Brian O'Connor down the backstretch, and Brian O'Connor is going to immediately go defensive. And this is where we've seen a few little incidents because somebody jumps to the outside, they don't really run it well, and you can see him get shoved off, and he does, but he does manage to save it. But now Mick Schumacher is going to challenge him. So we will watch this battle now as Mick Schumacher is going to look to possibly try and get around Ayrton Senna before he gets around Brian O'Connor, which, boy, you have to think Kimi Räikkönen and Ayrton Senna both just at words with their pit crews at this point. With as much spots as they have lost on pit road, it's incredible to see. So we'll now keep an eye here as Mick dives to the inside of turn 1. He is going to be able to get his car there. Will he be able to clear? It does look like, in fact, he does clear Ayrton Senna. So finally, somebody clears Ayrton Senna on track. But it's no longer a lead pass as Jackie Ickx leads. And he leads well over Niki Lauda. And then you can see just kind of the gap back to Brian O'Connor. It's much larger of a gap between second and third than we had prior to pit stop. So this is kind of the things that you sometimes see with road racing. And you can see it does look like, in fact, Kimi Räikkönen's car is up to pace. It looks like he just wasn't having it on the cold tires. So we'll see now if he can get around. I believe this is Montoya. No, this is Fujiwara in front of him, and then it'll be Montoya in front of him. So they're going to try and see what Kimi can do on this run. And we'll also try and keep an eye on Mick Schumacher and Ayrton Senna on their run to try to get back to the front. So it does look like Kimi Räikkönen closes the gap a little bit. He's going to try to get a great run here through the bus stop. He's going to handle it well, and we'll see how well he holds here. As you can see in front, it does look like, in fact, Mick Schumacher just kind of losing some ground here on Brian O'Connor. Now he's probably going to be a challenge from Ayrton Senna. And it's just, if you're Mick Schumacher, or Ayrton Senna really, you don't want to see that yourselves losing ground to Brian O'Connor, because then it's likely that you're not really gaining ground on the cars in front of you, as Senna looks to the inside of Mick Schumacher, and I believe Senna is going to be able to get that job done. And then Kimi Räikkönen to the inside of Takumi Fujiwara, and he's going to get the job done as well. So Kimi Räikkönen up from 8th to 7th now on his run back to the front. Ayrton Senna gets back around Mick Schumacher, which now puts him back to 4th, still chasing to try to get that top spot in this race back. And it really brings into question, because, like I said, they pitted on lap 11 based on that fact. If that was them running the tank drive, they'll have to pit again by lap 22. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see what's going to happen with the second set of pit stops that are likely to happen, and who's going to go for what strategy. Did anybody take tires here so that they don't have to take tires later? Is that maybe what cost Kimi some of his time on that pit road stop? So we'll have to see if maybe that was the case, that maybe Senna and Schumacher and Räikkönen all took tires and the other drivers didn't, and maybe they'll be taking tires on this next pit stop. But if that's the case, then you have to assume that Senna, Schumacher, and Räikkönen are really in the catbird seat, if that is in fact the case. But we don't know what the case is, so we'll be following along intently, as will everybody else. So Jackie Ickx continues to lead, and you can kind of see Since he's gotten that lead, he's been able to hold a bit of a gap over his teammate Niki Lauda in the number 11 BMW, and they just kind of continue to keep running. They're now on pace to try to catch Lando Norris, but it's Brian O'Connor now as Ayrton Senna tries to get back closer and tries to get around Brian O'Connor for, I believe that would be third place. And you could see in the background there, it was just kind of hinted and pictured that Kimi Räikkönen is a man on a mission. He's coming for Juan Pablo's spot, and then you get James Hunt continuing to run 10th, and now it looks like, I believe, Jan Magnussen has gotten around he who should not be named for 12th, but that still doesn't do you any good. You know, that's 12th place. Woo, that's a great finish, but you're still getting as many points as Dario Franchitti's getting 32nd. So it's certainly not where you want to finish, but you know, it's obviously a better finish as we actually finally see it looks like it's going to be a battle on track for the lead as we have Niki Lauda trying to go to the outside of his teammate Jackie Ickx for the lead. We'll see what's going to happen here because this is a very challenging, tight spot. They do manage to get it done, but something like that is going to cost them time, which is exactly what these guys and even the two cars behind them are really, really hoping for, because the more time that the leaders cost themselves, the easier it's going to be for these guys to catch up. So now it's going to be Brian O'Connor leading Ayrton Senna, as Ayrton Senna is now going to look to try to make his move, and you can see it in the background. Kimi Räikkönen was also looking to make the move on, I believe that is Juan Pablo Montoya. So Ayrton Senna looks to ride right behind Brian O'Connor. Maybe he'll look to the inside going into this corner. It doesn't look like he does, but Mick Schumacher is going to look to his inside, and he's going to make the challenge on Ayrton Senna, and he's going to get the job done. Juan Pablo Montoya looks to have held off Kimi Räikkönen into turn one, but Räikkönen won't be finished with Montoya just yet. So Mick Schumacher continues his run back to the lead. He hopes Jackie Ickx and Niki Lauda continue to lead first and second, but we're obviously closing in on more pit stops as we're actually also closing in on about 10 to go. Next time by will in fact be 10 to go. So we'll do a quick run through of the whole field. And we might miss a battle, but that is the likelihood here. So Jackie Ickx continues to lead after that great pit stop. Gets him the lead out in front, and then he is followed closely by his teammate, Niki Lauda. In third place, we have Brian O'Connor. And in fourth place, Mick Schumacher trying to battle back and get his position back towards the front. Back. Then in fifth place, it's Ayrton Senna. Sixth place, you see Juan Pablo Montoya. Seventh place, Kimi Räikkönen, also trying to battle his way back to the front. Eighth place is Nick Boulay. Ninth place is Takumi Fujiwara. In 10th place, in the final place of points, is James the Shunt Hunt. Good Lord, if I could speak English today. Followed in 11th by Michael Schumacher. 12th was he who should not be named, as we actually caught him making a pass on Jan Magnussen, which now moves Jan back to 13th. 14th is Lewis Hamilton, and he's followed by Darth Vader. In 16th is Mark Frosty Winterbottom, and in 17th is Max Verstappen. 18th is Colin Braun, and 19th is Ramsey Bolton. In 20th is Mike Rutsch. In 21st is Hans Landa. In 22nd is Oscar Golderson. Still hoping I'm pronouncing that right. In 23rd is Kevin Roy. In 24th is Daniel Ricciardo. And then I believe 29th is Dario. Well, he's coming to complete his disqualification lap. So we'll actually have to see it, but I believe it's Lando Norris is in 25th. And I believe he is also the last car in this race. Officially. Oh, Kevin Magnussen is 26th. Okay, Kevin Magnussen is currently last of running cars. So you can kind of see now that Niki Lauda is actually being gapped by his teammate because he's now stuck behind Dario Franchitti out on track. And Dario Franchitti, much slower. There's probably damage to that car. He's going to look to his inside and try to get the job done. But nonetheless, he is. But he's lost a lot of valuable time to his teammate up in front. And now he's going to try to claw that back as Brian O'Connor's kind of trying to put a gap on Mick Schumacher. And then you can see behind, we did miss it while we were going through the field, but Kimi Räikkönen has in fact cleared Juan Pablo Montoya for 6th place. So now he sets his sights on Ayrton Senna, Mick Schumacher, and company. As once again, we're closing in on the possibility of more pit stops. Ricciardo comes in to finish up the disqualification lap. He will no longer be eligible to score points. That car out much earlier. They got it fixed, but he had already been disqualified at that point. So, to answer any question that might occur from that statement, me and Josh were talking, and if the score, if the I'm just at a loss for words right now. I don't understand why some people can't respect the sanctity of the equivalent of the red light. I don't understand it. You can tell people that you're live no matter how many times, and they will always interrupt you. That being said, me and Josh had been discussing the idea of disqualifying drivers to roll them out of the race, and because we had started doing it in the Cup race yesterday, and we came upon the idea that if the ticker says you're out, then that means that you've been sat on pit road for quite a while. You likely have a good bit of damage. And in the case of where we were at with the NASCAR one, most of those guys, even when they finished up their repairs, they were 30, 40 laps down. They were out of the race. And in real life, NASCAR has a crash clock, if you would, as actually it looks like we actually have a little bit of variation, I believe. Jackie Ickx stayed out, and it does look like everybody else has hit pit road for the most part. It does look like Montoya stayed out, but so quite a few cars have hit pit road now. So we'll actually follow and see what's going to happen here. We'll see Niki Lauda essentially first in on this pit stop. And we'll see if he is first out on this pit stop. We're also watching Kimi Räikkönen, Ayrton Senna, and Mick Schumacher to see how their pit crews do. And, of course, Brian O'Connor, who was running in third at the time. So this is all very important, as it does look like Mick Schumacher's pit crew gets him out first. Then it'll be Niki Lauda. And then it looks like O'Connor and Ayrton Senna. And once again, as actually, and that's going to be for Fujiwara, a black flag, and I'm going to actually follow along on him because that's going to be a drive-through for hitting the commitment cone. That means that he did go out and he didn't make it back in time, so that's just going to be a drive-through penalty. And that's going to be a big issue. I hadn't really seen it until just then, and you could see also once again Kimi Räikkönen's pit crew just not getting it done. He's certainly got a great car, but the pit crew just absolutely holding him up. But the big winner there, of course, was Mick Schumacher. Mick Schumacher's pit crew managed to get him out first of this group and first on the road. In fact, we'll really quickly get up there, and you can take a look how far ahead of Niki Lauda he is. And it's kind of a question of, did these guys all put tires on? I mean, I don't know what the differences in pit stops are. I really wish they had the AI pit crews that you could actually see when they make their pit stops, that would be absolutely incredible. But you can kind of see that that didn't happen. And right now, I would normally be on Jackie X, but with this penalty occurring, I want to make sure that he makes his pit stop, he comes through, and then he gets onto pit road, and then we clear him. So he's going to come down here, and then we're going to clear penalties. So he's now good to go. He is going to serve his drive-through penalty for exit cone violation. He did not, an unsafe pit exit, we will call it. He did not leave pit road properly. And then you could see, I believe that it does, in fact, look like Jackie X is still on track. Yeah, Juan Pablo Montoya and Jackie X are still out on track. So we're going to follow along with Jackie X now, as I think he's trying to run this thing completely dry. And this is going to be a big deal, because even if he comes down now, all those guys that are behind him that have just made their pit stop, their tires are going to be warm by the time he comes out. So he's going to be on cold tires, and he's certainly going to be a lot slower. As we go to this camera, and you can kind of make out when Mick Schumacher is going to come by, and that's going to be important to see where Mick Schumacher and the rest of that grouping comes out. So this is certainly one of my favorite cameras to use when there's pit stops going on. But you can see 21 of 27 laps. So we're coming close to the finish, as I believe that's Kevin Magnussen. No, I believe that's Kevin Roy on there. So that one threw me off for a little second. So we're just sitting here. We're watching when Jackie X is going to get cleared out of his pit stall, and when Mick Schumacher comes by. So here comes Jackie X. He's cleared out. He's coming out of pit road now. And here comes Mick Schumacher. So will this be enough? As actually, it's going to be enough, almost enough for Montoya. Montoya is going to really benefit out of staying out. He's going to come out in third, right behind Mick Schumacher, who's now going to try and run down Jackie X. So that has now occurred. Niki Lauda's in fourth, Ayrton Senna fifth, O'Connor is sixth, Nick Boulay seventh, Kimi Räikkönen in eighth, James Hunt in ninth, and Michael Schumacher, the big beneficiary here, really 10th. And now that's a battle between him and Jan Magnussen to decide who's going to come away with the final points of the day. So incredible moment though here. Juan Pablo Montoya getting the big beneficiary out of all of those pit stop moments. He ends up in third. So he does a very good job of holding that car. But you can kind of see he's slow to Lando Norris, which is incredible to watch. And you have to assume that Jackie X's car through the corners is currently much slower than Mick Schumacher's is, because again, cold tires. And cold tires means that you can't brake as late, you can't turn as hard, and you can just see it as Mick Schumacher inches ever closer, and he's going to make this challenge. Is this going to be the first pass on track we see for the lead this season? So Mick Schumacher looks to Jackie X's outside. He's going to look to challenge this man's lead. He wants the lead, coming to the line to take just 5 to go. So this is getting late in this race. This is getting to the end. Mick Schumacher is going to, of course, look to the outside. He's going to hold the outside. He's actually going to clear him, I believe, before they get into turn 1. He, in fact, does. The cold tires biting Jackie X. He just doesn't have the ability to brake as late as Mick Schumacher did, and Mick Schumacher is able to drive that car through there. And now it's Juan Pablo Montoya, who's now defending from Niki Lauda. He's going to go very defensive on this line, as Niki Lauda is going to go around the outside, or at least try to. But Montoya is going to be able to hold this off, and he is going to hope that those tires get heated up really, really quickly, because if they don't, he is going to be under fire from not just Niki Lauda, but also the rest of that group. Is now Lando Norris is going to kind of slot in as that fourth place car lap down. So a lot more cars on the lap here today than we saw throughout the most of the NASCAR events. And that's, of course, again, due to a shorter race and also the change in type of car, the change in type of race. So now Juan Pablo Montoya is going to be defensive against Niki Lauda. We'll stick with this and see what's going to happen here, as this is absolutely going to be a challenge for position. And it does, in fact, look like Niki Lauda is going to be able to maybe make this pass in before they even get to the bus stop, as we're right on board. And here we go, as Juan Pablo Montoya takes it out wide. He's going to be really slow through there. Lando Norris is going to clear through, and Ayrton Senna is going to clear through. So a really, really bad bus stop for Juan Pablo Montoya, who really benefited well from the pit stops, but kind of failed as it's gone on. The tires just aren't heating up for him. So now it's a battle between Ayrton Senna and Niki Lauda as Lando Norris heads to pit road. And you can just kind of see how this is shaping up, how this is changing. And we're going to see who's going to be able to do anything here, as Juan Pablo Montoya really dives that thing in there. And he's going to try to get this job done. Kimi Räikkönen in the background, he's kind of hoping these guys all start battling so that maybe he can get up there and challenge for a podium. But as it runs, it's Mick Schumacher leading Jackie Ickx with 5 laps to go in this race. I think I was a little bit early on that. So we will see about what's going to happen. Apologize. Sorry. So Jackie Ickx continues to run second, and Mick Schumacher in the lead. We're going to see if there's going to be any battle. We get 5 laps to go. And it is, in fact, going to be a Jackie Ickx attempt at a pass on the outside. And it doesn't look like he's going to have really the, I guess you could say, cojones to really stick it in there just yet. Niki Lauda continues to run third, Ayrton Senna in fourth, Brian O'Connor in fifth, Montoya sixth, and Boulay in seventh. With Kimi Räikkönen now having closed on this group, he is in a position he could, if he could pick these guys off one lap at a time, he in fact could walk away with a 5th place finish. But we'll have to see what he manages to do here, as we'll actually follow along with him on this run through and see if he can get any kind of position on Boulay. So I know he's going to have a word with the Nightmare Pit Crew team, certainly for what I would assume is costing him any chance at a race win. But hopefully they'll get that sorted, as you can watch Jackie Ickx now continuing to battle, and we'll kind of move back to that focus as well. There's a few battles that we really kind of want to focus on here. Obviously Mick Schumacher and Jackie Ickx, but I kind of want to go back and take a look and see, as you can see, there's a 3-car battle for who's going to get last place or the last points. So it's a very exciting finish to this race, as there's 3 big important battles kind of going on. Who's going to get the last step on the podium? Who's going to get the last bit of points? And who's going to win? So this is a really great moment, as now Daniel Ricciardo kind of giving some draft to Mick Schumacher. This is going to certainly help him out as we ride along with Jackie Ickx. The camera goes behind the racetrack, and Jackie Ickx is going to look to the outside. Mick's going to be to the inside, I think, of Daniel Ricciardo, and we'll kind of see he's going to use Ricciardo as a pick on Ickx, and Ricciardo does give room, and they do in fact both clear. So everybody clears through of Ricciardo, and you can see that train behind them of the rest of the cars. So we've got 4 laps to go now. Jackie Ickx still challenging Mick Schumacher to try to get this win. We don't know who's going to come across the line first, as the Belgian challenges the German, the young German, and now he's going to look to his inside. Will he be able to stick it down in there and hold it down there in there? He's going to send it in, but it doesn't look like it's going to stick. Well, in fact, it actually might, as they're side by side into the S. This is a very challenging moment, and Jackie X backs out of it. He doesn't want to really leave that challenge just yet, I think, and that could be a smart move. Obviously, you put that car in the wall there, and your day's done. So why challenge it with 3 laps to go and possibly end up losing everything? As Michael Schumacher now has to defend the outside from Jan Magnussen, and he will get it done before they even make turn 1. So, and you can kind of see we continue to have Kimi Räikkönen, who's caught this group but not really moved past anybody. He's kind of just holding steady there, and it looks like Niki Lauda might be able to kind of cruise away with the top 3 there, possibly. But it's still going to be this battle that has been the best battle on track. It's Jackie Ickx versus Mick Schumacher for the lead. This time, it'll be 2 to go at the line. So the lights have come on, the sun's gone down, and we're getting to the end of this race. Jackie Ickx challenging Mick Schumacher. 2 laps to go. I think that Mick has the aggressiveness trait to be able to hold this position. I think he is going to do a fantastic job of defending, and he'll be able to get this done. But that being said, Jackie Ickx is a very talented, well-known driver, and he's going to now put the squeeze on. He's going to look to the inside, maybe. He is going to look to the inside. Here's Mick Schumacher on the outside. Who's going to hold? It does look like Jackie Ickx is actually going to finally get the position. So we do have a change in the leadership. Again, Jackie Ickx now around Mick Schumacher. But it's not over yet, folks. With 2 laps to go, Mick Schumacher now runs second, and there's no reason that he can't get this position back. Right as I was talking about how I think Mick will defend well enough, I might have put the commentator's curse on him, so now we'll see if Jackie Ickx has it in him to defend well enough. And Daniel Ricciardo now kind of put the little slowdown on Niki Lauda. Brian O'Connor all of a sudden looking to get around him. He got around Ayrton Senna at some point. I don't think we seem to have caught that. But Brian O'Connor is definitely there on Niki Lauda for sure, as behind them, Kimi Räikkönen takes advantage of Daniel Ricciardo's slow car and manages to get around Nick Boulay. So Kimi Räikkönen moves up a position to 7th. Brian O'Connor didn't get a great run there through that final corner, and he's being challenged by Ayrton Senna. But up at the front, it's now Mick Schumacher challenging Jackie Ickx, and they're running into the problem of a slow car of Kevin Roy, and they both kind of get slowed down, but I think they're equally even on that run through that bus stop. It didn't go well for either, but this might give Mick Schumacher a great run chance at making a pass into turn 1 here, and he's certainly going to want to set this up and see if maybe if he doesn't get it done by turn 1 here, if he can get a move to pass him by the line, and it doesn't look like he'd get that done, so we'll see if he can get around him here into 1. Jackie Ickx certainly sends it in a lot deeper this time. I think he even locked up the tires, or that was Mick. But they are still Jackie Ickx, Mick Schumacher second as they come through International for the final time. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the final lap. Kevin Roy really kind of throwing a spanner in the wrench there for Mick Schumacher, who I think would have had a better run through the bus stop. But we'll follow this along because this is, of course, the battle for the win. And much like every race we've had, they've all had exciting finishes. And I don't think this race is going to be any different as Mick Schumacher battles Jackie Ickx to the line. They'll come through the transition onto the NASCAR Oval for the final time tonight. And here we go as they make this transition. This is a daunting transition usually. Is Mick well enough in his draft? What's going to happen? Is he going to make a challenge here? Or is he going to save the challenge for coming off of this corner and getting a really good run? But I don't know that he has the time to do that. I think he needs to send it in on the high side of this bus stop and try to get around Jackie Ickx now as he does. And He wrecks Jackie Hicks. Jackie Hicks is out of this race, and Mick Schumacher is as well. Both Mick Schumacher and Jackie Hicks are now out of this race. It's Brian O'Connor versus Niki Lauda for the win. Nick Boulay clears through. Ricardo Montoya's around. Mick Schumacher gets through. And we're not sure what happened with Ayrton Senna or Kimi Räikkönen, as he's nowhere to be found. He looks to have towed. And it's going to be Niki Lauda as your race winner out of nowhere. As the overlay goes as nuts as I do. I can't believe this. An incredible finish to this race. Niki Lauda is your race winner. Brian O'Connor second, and Ayrton Senna in third. So, without much to do other than to go back and watch again what happened. Not just with Mick Schumacher and Jackie Hicks. Will actually go on board the chopper cam here. You could just see Mick gets in. He gets into the back, and it actually broke Jackie Hicks's wheel. And then we'll see what happens here. It looks like everybody kind of gets through well, and then Kimi Räikkönen, I think, breaks his right front, and that ends up ending his day. So the whole bunch of that ends up happening, and then not just that, but then you also have Juan Pablo Montoya. It looks like, so when Kimi went around, he kind of got pushed out there a little bit. He tries to save it, and he ends up looping it here. So just a weird finish to the end. Kimi Räikkönen and Jackie Hicks go from decent points days to nothing. Jackie Hicks even possibly looking at winning. And for certain, it's going to have to be under review by the stewards, and we'll have to get back to you on whether or not Mick Schumacher is going to get a penalty for this. I mean, this has to be under investigation. I mean, this is. I get making a challenging pass, but in that sense, he destroyed 2 race cars. And like I said, it'll have to go to the stewards. It'll have to be reviewed. This is just an incredible display of decision making, I guess, by Mick Schumacher. I'm surprised he didn't do more damage to himself, but he completely just shattered that wheel assembly of Jackie Hicks. And what is the most weird and incredible finish we have seen this week? I mean, I don't think we've seen all week the guy in third winning on the final lap. I know we saw the incredible finish by Kevin Harvick, but just incredible moment overall, not just here, but Kimi Räikkönen even slamming in. My word. That's just arguably the best finish we've had, as they completely make contact there. That's just incredible to watch. I don't know how many times I can watch it, but I could just keep watching it apparently, because God, that's incredible. But nonetheless, is actually Mick Schumacher looks to have gotten into the back of Niki Lauda now, and who knows what's going on at this point. I can't tell you. But good Lord, this is incredible. So, what a finish, ladies and gentlemen. This has been probably the best, weirdest finish we've had. Your podium is Niki Lauda, Brian O'Connor, and I believe Ayrton Senna. What a weird finish, to say the least, with an entire right rear wheel assembly being broken on Jackie X's car. Uh, just the whole 9 yards of everything that happened in that moment. Uh, I get a racing move, but he kind of dove that in there with no regard for what was going to happen with either of them, and you just got to kind of wonder if that's an investigatable offense or not. We'll have to see, obviously, but as it stands, Mick Schumacher with a 5th place finish, and I think that is going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, from the National Oval Racing Association booth here at the World Center of Racing in Daytona. We will see you all next time for the next GT4 race at Sebring. I'm not sure if that'll be the first race of the Sebring weekend. It very well might be, but nonetheless, all 4 series will see you at Sebring next week.